Okay, welcome everybody. Tonight we are learning about how to improve, how to make ourselves better, if you like that term or don't. We're not here to be good, we're here to be better. And as we're approaching Rosh Hashanah, the world goes into a dead stop and is reborn instantaneously to give us the unique opportunity to transform into the best versions of ourselves. To really now spend the time looking into what is our potential and making friends with that potential. So this is the second class of a 4-part series, and we'll just get into it. So last week we learned some pretty cool things. We talked in general about how to get ready for Rosh Hashanah, that Rosh Hashanah is for all of humanity. It's a reboot for everybody. And it's a time of personal introspection. It's a time to look within and see what works and what doesn't work and how to move forward from there. Because I think you would all agree, I mean, are you all 100% in love and happy with the state of affairs of your life right now? No? Are there any things that you would like to improve? Any things that you would like to work on?
Yeah.
Wow, I'm so happy for your honesty, because let's be realistic. If you're not moving forward, you are moving backwards. And as long as you're living and breathing, you will be working on a challenge at any given moment in time. And what we call those challenges, in the Hebrew language, we call that challenge, the thing that we're here to fix, it's called what? A tikkun. A tikkun. Now, it's very interesting because this week's Torah portion, now why do we focus and follow so closely the wisdom of the Torah portion that's available each week? Because it has such incredible tools and wisdoms that need to be decoded, that we can learn and use on this quest for transformation to be the best that we can be. So each week now, until Rosh Hashanah, I'm going to reveal to you a tool, a piece of the missing puzzle, so that when you get to Rosh Hashanah, you're way ahead of the game. So last week we talked about just getting into a state of consciousness, a way of thinking, because when you say, oh my God, what do I have to work on? Some people fall into utter panic and like overwhelm and go, I have no idea what I have to work on. It seems like there's so much that I have to work on. I'm so overwhelmed, I can't pin it down to one thing. So rather than approaching it like you would a business, the way you would a project, people just kind of, when it comes to ourself and our own spiritual growth and our own emotional, spiritual well-being, we throw up our hands and go, distraction, give me any distraction in the world so I don't have to deal with this. It's too difficult to pin it down. But no, we're going to pin it down. So last week, we spoke about a consciousness, a way to think. I gave you 6 suggestions on how to start thinking, putting yourself in a specific frame of mind. Does anybody want to share from last week those 6 suggestions? Anyone remember?
After she finds it on the pages.
Okay. Do you think it would be of benefit to remind you what that was, so
Okay.
that we build on it? Okay. So here were the 6 suggestions that if we start thinking this way, then everything we need to do will come to us. Number 1, believe in the existence and providence of God. So what does that mean? You know, a lot of people say, yeah, I believe in God, I don't believe in God. But believing in the providence of God basically means is that you have God as a partner that walks with you, that you're not alone on this earth, on this journey. Do you remember that story about the footsteps in the sand? That God said that for all these years I was walking in the sand and I saw 2 sets of footprints, and then there were times when there was only 1 set of footprints. And what was God's response to that?
I was carrying you.
I was carrying you through the hard times. So here we are, the providence of God knowing is that we will always be carried through the hard times. We are never alone on this journey, even though it might feel that way. Number 2, the prohibition against believing in other gods or on relying on forces other than God. So what does that mean? It means that we live in a world where there are a lot of quote unquote false gods. The iPhone, technology, the new materialism. This is like our new God. If we don't have these things, then we're not happy, right? The only thing that makes us happy is the new toy. Well, not true. So, how to recreate that connection with your holy partner? 3, the belief in God's oneness and his all-encompassing unity. If we're going to live in a state of consciousness of unity, that we all are one, that you're a part of me and I'm a part of you, that type of consciousness can only create more and more good stuff in our life. So to keep that at the forefront. Unity. Not to be looking for and creating separation. Unity is so important right now. The obligation to love God. What does that mean, the obligation to love God? Basically, it means, again, acknowledging your Heavenly Father as a partner in your life. Number 5, having, so that was number 4, excuse me. Number 5, having awe of this incredible partnership, respecting it, honoring it, giving it its due, because it is something so beautiful and powerful above and beyond the mundane. And number 6, the obligation to protect one's mind from negative thoughts. Now, that's a biggie. And we're going to talk about number 6 in detail this week, because that's of paramount importance. So, here we are, just a few weeks away from the reboot, and it's very important to understand that each week we're going to be adding more and more tools. So what's the tool we're going to start with this week? Now, the Parsha begins with this sentence: when you go to war against your enemies, the Lord your God will deliver them into your hands. Now that sentence is so powerful, but it really needs to be decoded to understand it's so powerful. Now, the first question we have to understand is, when you go to war against your enemy and God will deliver him into your hands, what enemy are we talking about? Very important that we make a distinction between that, who that enemy is.
Negative thoughts.
Your negative thoughts, your mind. Who's the enemy? The what? The evil inclination, the Yetzer Hara, Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. This bad guy runs us and controls us, and it could take 2 forms. It could take an external form. There could be negativity coming from the outside, which could be in the form of relationships, a boss, etc. Or it could take the form of an internal dialogue. And this is the part that I really want to focus on, is the internal dialogue. Because the biggest enemy is the one within that tells us, you can't do it. You're never going to make it. What makes you think you can climb the ladder in your job? What makes you think that you're holy, that you can even get closer to God? What makes you think? So this internal enemy takes on the form of 2 voices in our heads. I've talked to you about this before. You have the right angel in those old comic depictions, that little white angel sitting on your right shoulder, whispering in your ear, do good and be good. And on the left shoulder, what do you have? The what? The little red devil with the spiky horns and the tail, and he's telling you, cheat everyone, take, steal, do whatever feels good in the moment, and just keep doing it and doing it. And those are the two voices that we have that control us 24/7. It's that internal battle. The enemy is the war that goes on internally is between those two voices in our head, battling it out, duking it out. Do good, do bad, do good, do bad, do good, do bad. I don't know about you, but at the end of the day, sometimes I'm telling you not to run for a distraction, but at the end of the day, the mall is calling me. You need a distraction. Get away from the voices in your head. Shut them down. Because guess what? The bad guy never sleeps. Ever.
I know.
It's always on call. 24/7. But you know what? You can learn how to have mastery over the bad guy. Bad guy's never going away, but you can learn mastery. Now that we learned in level 1 course, we'll talk about it again in level 2 course, but if you allow me, let's just continue. So, the other thing that you need to know, which I hope gives you solace, gives you a feeling of, it's okay, I can do this, I can win this war, is the fact that part of our spiritual DNA is to know when to go to war and when not to go to war. When to take on a challenge and when not to take on a challenge. When the challenge will be partnered with God and when we're not going to be partnered with God. So it's very important because we have to know that we have this wisdom. Why? It's a push and a pull. Go to war, don't go to war. Who's talking? The good guy, the bad guy. Discernment. How am I going to know? When should I go to war? When should I not go to war? And the answer to that is you go to war whenever you perceive or discern that this action will take you to a new state of consciousness, to an elevated state of consciousness. Something new, something outside of the box, something that has never been before. But this is where God believes in us so much that this is where you have to trust your intuition. Is this a good thing? Is this going to take me to the next level of being the better person? Is this going to take me down? This is where intuition comes into play. Because what's happening with this war is that when we declare that when we're going to go to war against our enemy, what we're really saying is, I refuse to be complacent. I refuse to let the old ways that haven't worked for some of us it's been 55 years, for some of us it's been 60s, for some of us it's been 45 years. I refuse to let the old ways continue because they don't work. How do you know they don't work? Because the result is separation, pain, chaos, suffering. Simple. Separation, pain, chaos, suffering. That's when you know something's not working. Because we were created lekabel, which is the Hebrew infinitive for the word Kabbalah comes from that.
Kabbalah.
The wisdom of Kabbalah comes from that. Lekabel means what? To receive. So we have this whole beautiful body of wisdom, a knowledge that tells us, lekabel, you're here to receive. Are you here to receive pain and suffering? Is that our destiny? What are we here to receive?
Joy.
Joy, bliss, fulfillment, ongoing hope, rejuvenation, happiness. This is our destiny. So people ask me many times, well then why is life so challenging and why is there so much pain and suffering? Because this war, this internal battle between the good guy and the bad guy, only you can choose which team you're going to play on. If you're gonna choose to play on the bad guys team, then your winnings are gonna be pain, suffering, and chaos. If you're gonna choose to play on the good guys team, then your winnings, the spoils of war, are going to be hope, fulfillment, joy, and completeness. That's your choice. No one can choose it for you. And that's part of the challenge as well. Because we live in this world that is so swayed by the physical, sometimes it's so much easier to go with the path of least resistance. And what is that path of least resistance? Well, I'd rather go to the movie than sit and write down, do some personal introspection here and figure out what my tikkun is, what I'm here to correct in this lifetime. That's the challenge. Do I want to do it? Oh, I'm tired. Tomorrow. So, Kitetse, this portion always comes right before Rosh Hashanah in this month of Elul to give us the opportunity for spiritual introspection. Are we committed to becoming better? What are we committed to? If you don't know exactly what it is that you're here to fight, what you're here to go to war against, can you at least commit to a general concept of, yes, I'm committed to being a better person? Can you commit to that?
Yeah.
So if you keep that in your forefront, I am committed to being a better person this year. I am committed to being a better person this year. Whenever the voice of the bad guy raises its ugly head and says, you can't do it, and what makes you think this year, how is this year going to be any different than last year? What is your job? What do you choose to fight? And how do you choose to fight in that moment? What do you say? Simple. Words have power. What do you choose to say?
Go away, I'm not listening.
You can say, go away, I am not listening. And I would highly suggest that your communication with the bad guy this month is, I am committed to being the best I can be this year. Anytime you hear the whisper of doubt and you can't do it, I am committed to being the best I can be this year. I don't care if you have to say it over a million, trillion, gazillion times. I am committed to being the best I can be this year. It's a very, very powerful way to stay in a state of consciousness of doing what we call teshuvah this month, returning back to our real self. What did we say the real self was last week? How did we define it? Remember? Any takers? Okay. Do you want me to remind you?
Sure.
Okay. We said that doing teshuvah was going back to a state like as if we were a brand new what? Baby. With no preconceived notions, with no garbage. We were fresh, brand new, ready to take on the world, ready to start fresh. That's what this time is all about. So, if that's the case, there's another tool that we have that's very important we learned this week. Because before we can even go to war, we have to first acknowledge that there is a war. So at this point, I would like you to take a few seconds. Does everybody have no paper? Or maybe you don't need no paper, but what I would like you to take a few seconds in doing is I want you to think about what your tikkun is. What you would like to fix this coming year. I think I would like to fix a run out water. I would like you to think about it because this is part of the introspection that we're talking about. Let's start here together. So rather than procrastinating, because I know if I send you home and I ask you to do this, it ain't gonna get done. So think about it right now. Just pick one. Tikkun means the fixing. Pick one area in your life that you would like to fix. And I'm gonna go around the room, anybody who would like to share, that's fine. Anyone who doesn't want to share, that's not allowed, I'm just teasing. But what it is that you would like to fix this year, raise your hands. Yes,
Procrastination.
procrastination, okay? What else?
Patience.
Patience. What else?
Tolerance.
What?
Tolerance.
Tolerance. Okay, what else?
Judgment.
Judgment. What else?
Low self-esteem.
Low self-esteem. Didn't spell that right, okay. What else?
Mine's already up there.
What?
Mine's already up there.
Okay, good. What else?
Anxiety.
Anxiety. Beautiful. What else? Any other thoughts?
Reaction.
Being reactive? Yeah. What else?
Anger.
Anger. What else?
Listening better, but pay attention.
Being more.
Focus. It would be focus.
It would be, so you wanna connect more with other people?
Just pay attention, listening.
Pay attention, okay. What else?
Organization and boundaries.
Ooh, I like that one. Organization and boundaries. Any others?
Self-care.
Huh?
Self-care.
Nurturing. What else?
I only know how to phrase it positively. I'd like to have more acceptance of myself and of life.
That's a good one.
So,
Less judgment.
would the word surrender work? No,
Well,
just self-acceptance. Okay, what else? Okay, so these are huge tikkunim, huge things to work on. You might be able to scratch the surface, it's like an onion. Anxiety could have maybe 22 lifetimes embedded in it. And maybe you'll scratch the lifetime of fixing one level, another level. It's work. Okay. So I don't want to scare you guys off, but making these things visible and out there and up front is the first step, is taking ownership. Now, just remember this, that the only way to conquer the darkness within is to bring in the light. So everything you do in terms of working on your tikkun,
Bless you.
bless you. Everything you do, you are going to bring in the light. In how you approach your tikkun, you're going to bring in the light. That's step number one. So that means no beating up on yourself. I'm bad. I'm never going to be able to do this. Self-doubt. You have to be your own best cheerleader. Can you do that this month? Because remember, this is the month of mercy. This work is being done with mercy this month. So yes, I'm telling you to like maybe bring out your deepest, darkest secrets. But on the flip side, I'm telling you, you know that expression that the disease is always presented with the cure? This is the cure this month. It's the month of mercy. The 13 attributes. The cure is this month. So whether you choose to use it or not is totally up to you. But here's the thing. Winning the war takes proper planning. So step number 1 is to identify what you want to go to war against. That's step number 1. Now, if that's the case, and this is what you want to go to war against, we have to know that the bad guy will distract us. The minute you declare that you're going to war, you are now on the bad guy's radar. The Eight Sahara, the bad guy. Oh, really? You want to work on being less judgmental? Oh, have I got a situation for you. How committed are you to being less judgmental? You want to work on being nurturing of yourself? Oh, let's see how committed you really are. So this is something you have to know as well, is that it's time to buckle down and not let the bad guy win. And to recognize when the bad guy is coming out to play with you and saying, no, who said I'm not playing with you? What did you say?
Go away, I'm not listening to
Go
you.
away, I'm not listening to you. Why? Because what did you all just say before? Because I am committed to being a better version of myself. You know, think of it this way. We're all born, you can think of yourself as a circle. This is what we call the or pinimi, the internal light. This is everything you've already accomplished from lifetime to lifetime. It's who you are. It's your nature. It's a given. It's yours. But this area is why we're here on this earth. This is called, does anybody know? Or Makif, which means our surrounding light, our potential. This is why we're here. We're here to grow into the potential. So if you think about it, from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah, it could kind of look like this. Well, this year, this Rosh Hashanah, I'm expanding into my potential. Next year, I'll work a little harder and I'll keep expanding into my potential. Does that make sense? That's what the job is. Now, sometimes you don't know what that potential is. The only way is by keep working, self-introspection, and keep doing what you're doing. Being committed to be the best person you can be. Your commitment to that is your guiding light. That's what's going to keep you moving forward. So, awareness is the first step. Now, one of the things I want to help you do, this is an excerpt from my book, where we talk about doing I am statements, about creating consciousness with our words. So I'm going to pass it out to you, and I'm going to have somebody who wants to read. Okay, so Steve, you can read until we get to number 1. Now, I'm not going to ask you to do this here, but I'm going to ask you to do this for homework for next week. And I made 20 copies, so I might not have enough. So
We can share.
you can share. Okay.
You have more copies in it?
No, that's it.
Don't worry, it's coming.
You have an extra one? You have another one?
Over here.
What?
Hand it to me, please.
Okay. So go ahead, Steve. You can read the first 2 paragraphs.
During times of unrest, use I am statements
as a vehicle to transform into the best version of you. Words have power. How was the world created? According to the Old Testament, God said, "Let there be light." Bible book of Genesis, chapter 1-3. Words have power. There is an expression, be very careful what you ask for, because you just might get it. Most of you are familiar with the phrase abracadabra. It is commonly used as an incarnation by
Incantation.
incantation, thank you, by magicians or Harry Potter, when performing a magic trick or illusion. What is its origin? Why is it so widely used and recognized? I turn to Hebrew as the language of creation for the answer. Abracadabra comes from Hebrew. It means, I will create as I speak. How cool is that?
Use
Use
Yeah.
the power of the word to bridge to the infinite realm. Keep all communication in the positive and start all statements with, I am. The language of the infinite realm and one of God's holy Hebrew names, Ehyeh.
Ehyeh, okay, beautiful. So, right now is a perfect time for each one of these tikkuns, and I'm just gonna use one of the tikkuns as an example, and to give you an idea of how to do this on your own this week. So, first of all, we have to recognize number one. I am good. I am a holy child of the universal light force. I am good because the higher power is good. All challenges come from God, so therefore they are good too, and they are for my highest good and potential. I am open to receive healing, blessings, guidance, and abundance in all areas of my life. Okay, so we start first with I am. Now, let's say judgment, okay? What would be, the most important thing here is to understand is that we speak in the positive. Because whatever we focus on, we create. So if we say, I don't want judgment in my life, guess what you're calling into your life?
Judgment.
Judgment. So we don't say, I don't want judgment. I am open to receive what would be the opposite of judgment in a positive, framing it in a positive way.
Acceptance.
Beautiful. I am open to receiving acceptance.
How about I'm open to accepting?
Always open to receive is the beginning. I am open to receiving acceptance and seeing the God-like spark in everyone. Since everyone is a spark of God, and since God is good, so how could you judge a God-like spark? So I am open to receive acceptance and seeing the God-like spark in everyone. What do you think your life would look like if you walked around and you went, wow, look at your God-like spark, it's beautiful, and it's bright, and it's shining, and it's so amazing. I want to connect with that. And oh my God, look at your God-like spark. What is your unique gift to this world? Oh my God, it's amazing, and I want to connect with that. What would the world look like if you were connecting God-like spark to God-like spark? What would that look like? How would that make you feel?
Powerful.
Awesome. Absence of conflict. Could you imagine going up to somebody and there's somebody who's given you a hard time in the past. But if you've gone up to them and you just start communicating with them like you're talking to their God-like spark, which is good, person's gonna look at you like, first of all, well, how do you think they would look at you? You think they'd think you were crazy? I think in the beginning they'd feel a little like, but then after a while they go, wow, this feels good. feels nice to be talked to like this. It's kind of like in the analogy that I used last week about judgment. How when a big dog bites a smaller dog, and then the smaller dog doesn't know what to do with all that judgment, so it turns around and does what? Bites the owner,
It's
or
like pay it forward in the opposite.
it's paid forward in the opposite way. Or it, God forbid, messes in the house because it doesn't know how to release its judgment. But here, if you are dealing with the God-light spark, talking to that person, do you know what's going to happen when you walk away from that person? That person's going to pay it forward in ways they didn't even know they had it within them. They might have a smile for their neighbor. They might have you don't know what they're going to have. But that's the job of each and every one of us. You can call that a global tikkun if you want. So, if you have issues with judgment, I am open to receive acceptance and seeing the godlike spark in everyone. So, it's phrasing a tikkun in a positive way that feels empowering, joyful, that feels like it has momentum to move forward and affect and touch the next one and the next one and the next one in a beautiful way. So then, we always acknowledge, go down to the bottom where it says its components are. Number 2, we always acknowledge that it is the higher power's job to determine what is in my highest good potential and potential. So we always express gratitude for being given the ability to do something that is difficult for us. So I am open to receive acceptance and seeing the godlike spark in everyone. Thank you. I don't care what words you use, Hashem, God, for this gift of sight. It's a gift to be able to see the godlike spark. Thank you for this gift of sight. May I use it wisely. And then you always end by acknowledging your unique relationship and sign it, your loving daughter, son, and your name. Those are the basic components of communicating, of shifting your consciousness from the finite realm, which is the physical world we live in, into the spiritual realm, the home of all things fulfilling, joyful, godlike, because that's what we want to do. And that's how you win the war, is when you live in that consciousness of I am open to receive all of the abundance that comes from the infinite realm. Because everything comes from there. But you have to train yourself now. This is the time for heavy lifting. This is how you train yourself to do this. I know it's a quick, it's not so easy to do these statements, but are you understanding the general concept?
Yes.
Okay. The other thing is,
Well,
go ahead.
you taught me that when you have an issue with someone, to understand that they see something through their the lens of their life experiences, which are different than yours. And therefore, I don't have conflicts anymore with people because of that lesson you taught me. Understand that the lens of someone who is in conflict with you has a lifetime of lenses that they are looking through, which is different from yours.
Yes,
So I have no dispute with people anymore.
I'm very happy to hear that.
Well, it's your teaching.
Thank you.
Well, what if their lenses are wrong?
What's that?
Some of the lenses are challenging, yes. So challenges are a given. And we are always gonna be surrounded by challenges. And they're never gonna go away. The bad guy never goes to sleep. So we have to be really vigilant. So if we're going to go to war, there's another tool that we can use. Last week, we talked about putting up gates in front of all of our openings. That was a tool that was given to us last week. Did any of you practice that last week? Did any of you find that helpful as a tool? Anything come to mind? No? Okay, I'm gonna remind you, we're adding it to the tool chest. So putting up gates in front of your openings, watching what you hear, watching what you see, watching what you say. Very important to stay in this consciousness of I am committed to be the best version of myself this year. So that doesn't leave any opening for talking bad about others, for others talking bad about me. And it's going to be very important. That is creating a boundary. That's basically saying only positive people are allowed to pass. The bridge only opens, the gate only opens. So we talked about how this could be a time of not only self-introspective, looking inside, but sometimes also isolating a little bit this month. Really choosing who you're going to surround yourself with. If the people are in alignment with your commitment of being the best person, go for it. There's nothing better than hanging out with like-minded people. Go for it. It's amazing, it's fun, it's stimulating, and it just takes you to great heights. So, we have another lesson this week that we get, which is really beautiful. We're told in this week's Torah portion as well that we need to build, if you're building a new house, you put up a guardrail around your roof. Now that also needs to be decoded. So here's another tool. So it's very interesting, when I built my house 5 years ago, I remember thinking to myself, do I have to put up a fence around my roof? Like, who's gonna be on my roof? And who's gonna fall off my roof? Is the roofer gonna fall off my roof? Why do I have to put a fence around my roof? So we need to decode it and understand what we're being told. So we're talking figuratively. When you're building a new house, what you're basically doing is when you're ascending to the roof, you are ascending, or when you're talking about the roof, you're talking about a higher level of consciousness. That's what you're talking about. Now the roof is also connected to, on our bodies, our head. So in Kabbalistic terminology, the sphirot that connects to the head is Keter. And what is Keter? It's the source of everything. It is the source. It is your closest connection to the source, God. So this new level of consciousness that you want to create, Rosh Hashanah, because that's what we're talking about. If you want to be a better person, you're not coming from the same place that you were coming from last year. This new level of consciousness, building a guardrail, you need to protect it. And how do you protect it? So you can look at it similar to posting guards in front of your openings. And now you have a guardrail around your new level of consciousness. Do you see what's going on, what we're being told during this time frame, this month of Elul? What are we being told? What do you hear when I'm saying put guards in front of your openings, put a guardrail around your consciousness? What are you hearing?
Don't let people get in your way.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Or
Expand upon that a bit, that's wonderful.
Don't-
Don't let people get in your way. In your way of what, if you don't mind expanding?
Improving yourself, changing something about yourself, becoming better. People like to stay the way they've been, and especially in their relationship with you.
Mhm.
So when you try to change, it's uncomfortable for other people sometimes because they wanna have that familiar relationship with you. So sometimes you need to grow, and if the other person can't grow with you, it's difficult. It's uncomfortable for the other person, so don't let somebody get in your way of self-improvement.
Beautiful. What else is somebody here? This is really important. I wanna make sure we're really, they can be very esoteric, lofty things, but how does that manifest in your life this month? I want you to walk out of here and be able to use what we're talking about.
This is a spiritual time, and if you have too many distractions, you're not gonna be able to do your spiritual work.
Okay, so minimize distractions. Are you aware of what your distractions are? Because everybody has their own forms of distractions. For some people, it's shopping. For other people, it could be eating. For other people, it could be going to the gym. For other people, it could be, are you all familiar with your distractions? You might wanna write down on that sheet of paper I gave you and write a list of your distractions. Because once you are aware of what those distractions are, when they rear up, you can say, you're not allowed to derail me this month. So be very cognizant of what those distractions are. Okay, what else?
Well, you mentioned guardrail. Be careful before you speak. Think what you say, its effect on someone else.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So be very cognizant of the intention behind what you're saying. And think about, somebody once said something to me which I found very beautiful, that when you're planning or you're writing your goals down, you write your goals down immediate, 5 weeks from now, 5 months from now, 5 years from now, 50 years from now. You try to see the ripple effect of what your actions, how they will, if they will cause harm, be a source of good or not so good, moving forward. Very good.
Not only what you say, but what people are saying to you.
And so if someone is saying what to you, what do you do during this time frame?
Either I don't listen to it, or, stop it, or especially if it's Lashon Hara.
Or give him
I don't wanna listen to it.
a positive reaction so it doesn't come to you, stays there.
Okay? So there's a lot of being very cognizant, being very aware of things that are happening on multiple levels. So we must create a disciplined plan of action. So judgment, good judgment, is part of this whole process. So I call it discernment. Discern who's going to be a force for good in your life, what thoughts are going to be a force for good in moving you forward. So it's an outside and internal attack. People and situations from the outside and what you tell yourself. So going up to the roof also symbolizes the attempt to leave the pressures of society and one's peers behind to sort out what one really needs. So it could also be a time, when you go up to a roof or you go to a lookout and you look over a beautiful vista and it's heavenly and it's godly, and if you're in, if you're in North Carolina and you take the, what's the road that everyone drives in? The Blue Ridge. The Blue Ridge Parkway, and you stop on the side of the Blue Ridge Parkway at one of those overlooks, and you look out at the beautiful vista. It's breathtaking. It's just you and nature. It's just you. You see God in everything at that point. Mm-hmm. It's getting to a place. Each one of you has a place in your life that's a roof. Where is that place? Is it a home is it a room in your home? Is it a place? I don't know, where is that place that is best going to serve you in being able to like slow down, let the distractions of the world go away, and allow you just, even if it's a few moments, to really commune with yourself. And each one of you knows a place like that. Whether it's in a meditative state, whether it's a physical state, whatever it is, going to the roof is so important right now. Now, I don't know if I mentioned it before, it's written into our spiritual DNA that we are meant to fall, fail, and pick ourselves back up again. That's the nature of being human in a physical body, living in a finite reality. We will fall, and if we choose to pick ourselves up again, that's where the learning comes. That's where we will learn to never, hopefully, repeat that same mistake again. But you have to accept the reality that falling is unavoidable. Can you accept that reality? Is it a hard one for you to accept?
Yes.
It is a hard one. How many of you think it's a hard reality to accept? Let me see a show of hands. That failing, falling, and getting up, okay?
That when you're a perfectionist.
Okay? How many of you accept the reality that falling and getting up is part of life? Okay? So we're kind of half and half, as they say. Those of you who accept that falling and getting up is natural part of life, when you fall, how do you pick yourself up? What do you tell yourself? Share with me. Do you pick yourself up with joy and excitement and go, oh my God, I just failed. This is so exciting because it means that growth is right around the corner. Yes, I just failed. Do you do that?
No.
No.
I say it happened for a reason. And I think that everything happens for a reason, and the reason is ultimately good. So I probably failed for a reason, because it's gonna make me better when I get up.
Okay, that's hindsight.
That's hindsight?
But what happens in the moment when you're falling?
Oh, yeah.
Who's in control? Bad guy. And what do you tell yourself? You need to be aware of what you're telling yourself when you're falling. Because if you're not aware of the voice, then you're not going to be able to pick yourself up quickly. The goal is to fall. Oh my God, the bad guy is running me. You see, you failed again, you did it again, blah, blah, blah. You can wallow in it and stay there for a very long time. Or you can say, okay, I know this is the voice of the bad guy. What are you committed to? I am committed to be the best version of myself. But you're not going to make it, and who's going to help? I am committed to be the best version of myself. Go away and bother somebody else. If you can do that, you can climb out of the pit quicker with a lot less collateral damage. But the longer you stay in the pit, and the longer you let the bad guy run you, and you're no good, and blah, 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 it is so much harder to pick yourself up. The goal is to fall, acknowledge, pick yourself up. Now, I'm not telling you, and I hope none of you hear me saying, repress. Don't feel sad. Don't feel mad. Don't feel judgment. No, suppressing causes sickness and illness and destruction to the body. Okay? I'm sad. I'm mad. I failed again.
Pick yourself up and go.
But why?
Because you have to, because you know if you stay down there, it's only going to get worse and you're going to feel terrible. But if you say to yourself, I know if I turn around, I'm going to feel like $1 million. And you see that.
But we learned last week.
But you know the answer.
We learned last week. Who do we have? Do we have a partner in this project? Hashem. You're never alone on this fall. Ever. And that's why when the Torah portion says, when you go to war against your enemies, God will deliver him into your hands. It's interesting because every commentary makes note of the fact that they will deliver him into your hands. It's said in the singular. So we're talking basically about this bad guy as the one enemy. But if you know, this is the other part of the equation that just gives me so much power and so much support, is knowing that nowhere does it say that when you go to war that you have to go decked out with a bazooki. What do they call them? Bazookas? Bazookas, Uzis, bazookas, knives strapped to you, grenades strapped to you. Nowhere in the portion does it say that.
It wants you to lift up and go. That's it.
The minute you make the keter, you're up on the roof. The minute you make the decision here from the roof that I'm going to war, I might not know how to shoot a bazooka. I might not know how to throw a grenade. But I know one thing. I'm committed to being the best person I can be. And armed with that, and Hashem is my partner, I'm going to war and I'm going to win. Because it doesn't say that I actually have to pick up a gun and go into hand-to-hand combat. It just says I have to make a decision to go to war. And when you choose, when you decide, everything you need to help you win will be delivered into your hands. What do you hear me say when I'm saying that? Make this real. Give me some examples. What am I saying?
An opportunity will be presented.
An opportunity will be presented. Like what? Make this real. Give me an example.
You want me to give you an example? So, if you're addressing a certain situation and somebody else may potentially bring up the topic and it will present itself in an opportunity for you to jump in and address whatever it was you were actually trying to address. Somebody else may present the opportunity, or a situation may present the opportunity.
And then it's just the opportunity, the situation is perfectly aligned for you to take advantage of it because that was the piece of information you needed to win the war. Give me another example. What does it mean in today, in our life? You're walking out the door, we've just learned this incredible, oh my God, if I go to war, if I just make the decision from here, from my keter, from the roof, if I decide I'm going to war, then the enemy will be delivered into my hands. What does that mean? How does that apply to your everyday life? Give me an example.
Well, if you're going to
Yeah.
look,
Okay, go ahead.
If you're going to look for a job, and you go place to place, I'm never gonna get a job. This is ridiculous. I'm not what they're looking for. Then you've lost. If you go in and go, okay, they don't want me, I'll go here. They don't want me, okay, I'll go here. And you keep going and going and going, then the perfect job will open up to you.
Okay, that's good. Or, can I embellish upon it just a bit?
Sure.
So in the process of her actually, what's that expression? God takes care of those that take care of themselves. So in the action of going to war, because we have to go, we have to do something, we have to take an action. So Patty will go knock on the door, and she'll go, hi, I'm here, I want to apply for this job, and I'm this, and I'm that, and I'm wonderful, and you should hire me. And then, lo and behold, there's somebody else sitting beside in the room and says, you know what, I just overheard you, Patty. You would be amazing. I just applied for this job over at school XYZ. I was overqualified and it didn't work out for me, but I think for you it would be amazing. Here's the contact, go.
Wow.
That's what it looks like. Have you had those situations happen in your life? Give me examples. It's important. You need to internalize this and feel this so that you can recognize it and take advantage of the situation when it makes itself apparent to you. Give me an example. Think. Make this real to your life.
Well, sometimes like I work when I have to start a project and I don't know too much about it, I'm a little hesitant to get started with it, I don't know what to do. And so I decide to say, all right, I gotta do something, I get a few phone calls, and all of a sudden someone said, we'll talk to so-and-so, they'll get a consultant, and all of a sudden, you know, put a couple of people together, and you have a project team, and it just makes the project happen, but you have to
But did you
first-
start from a point of, I have no idea how to make this happen?
Yeah, right.
So how many of you are willing in your life to start, that's the key, is you start from a place of, I have no idea how to make this happen. All I know is that I'm gonna put one foot in front of the other, and I'm gonna go to war, and I'm gonna see, you know what they say, if you throw enough stuff against the wall, something's gonna stick? So you go out there and you start throwing stuff at the wall with the commitment that I'm going to war. Why? Because I wanna be the best person that I can be this year. Then it's almost as if the whole world opens up to give you what you need to accomplish the task. I wish we had more concrete examples. It's very important. So things like, God forbid, there's an illness in the family and you need a specialized doctor. You're sitting there and you're going, okay, this is totally out of my bailiwick. I have no idea how to deal with this. I don't know anything about this disease. I'm just gonna call up this one. I know that she knows someone who might know someone. And the next thing you know, you're standing in line and you're talking on the phone and you're going, I'm really looking for this. And someone's overhearing you and says, excuse me, I really don't want to interrupt. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be rude, but I just overheard what you're looking for. I have the perfect doctor for you who does exactly what you're looking for. That's called being delivered into your hands. What are you hearing me say?
Open yourself up. You open yourself up
But
to
you're gonna get
everybody.
synchronicity
to take it in.
Things are gonna happen.
Have any of you had examples like that happen in your life?
I've done the opposite. I heard somebody talking and I've given them a name. Did they follow up? You don't know.
No, but you're just a channel at that
But
point.
yet I gave them a name.
So everything you need to win the war will come to you. Sorry, we're not being more specific, but I think if you take it in this week, you'll go out to your life and you'll see what I'm talking about, and you'll report back to me next week on these things. Now, there's another caveat here, there's another suggestion, that when you get up onto the roof, sometimes we're on the roof and we can feel so high because we've just achieved an amazing insight. We've come to a realization, something that moves us forward, excites us. It's very important to realize that also the guardrail is up there to prevent us from falling from that level of consciousness. What does that mean? Is that sometimes we can get a little cocky and prideful when we think, I got it. I've just got, I'll move to my next level of consciousness. I've got it. I'm the guru. I feel it. I know it. This is awesome. I wish you could feel what I feel. When that ego kicks in, we have to be very careful because that could cause us to fall. So move into this state of an higher level of consciousness as you're moving forward and you're living that commitment of I want to be the best person I can be. You can start feeling pretty good. You can start getting messages. You can start seeing things differently that make you feel really good and empowered. Your job in that moment is to stay humble. To stay humble. Yes.
The other thing is, we're all connected, everything's connected, so if you're at a higher level, there's also other parts of us that may be at a higher level than us, or maybe at a lower level, and it's also the oneness. to recognize that we're just a little piece of it, and there's more things to elevate and also
Yep,
higher to go to.
yep, beautiful. So the last part to this is that, the opposite may be true, is that some people might be afraid to go up to the roof for fear of falling. Some people might be afraid to take themselves on, afraid of what they might discover about themselves. A lot of people distract and run away because there's something to run away from. They're tikkunim, very hard to face certain things about yourself sometimes. So some people might really resist going up to the roof. So now's the time to know that guardrail is there specifically to protect you and keep you safe and nourished when you do take yourself on, when you do have the courage to walk up to the roof and say, you know what? Even though I have no idea what's next for me, I am letting the commitment that I want to be the best person I can be guide my steps as I walk up to the roof. Protect me, guide me on this process. And that's the other purpose, a reason for having this incredible roof around us. So, I think, wow, it's time to end this. I think I'll close with this. We're also told at the end of the parsha, it ends with the sentence that says, remember what Amalek did to you on the way when you were leaving Egypt. Now, decoding that, Amalek has the same gematria or numerology as the word safek, which means doubt. We are being told very clearly during this time, we're being given another tool. We're being told, don't let self-doubt stop you from climbing to the roof. You have to do everything in your power to eradicate doubt. And doubt can come in many different forms. It can come in the form of people who don't believe in you, yourself who doesn't believe in you, negativity. So that is one of the greatest forms that the enemy takes, the greatest shapes that it takes during this time is doubt. So I'm here to reassure you. I'm not here to tell you anything. You know everything already. Your soul already knows everything that we've been learning together, is that your destiny is to be full of light and love and joy and fulfillment. And now, during this time, more than ever, there is mercy in the universe, and there is tool after tool being provided to make sure that you climb your roof, each one of your individual roofs, and that to know that you are protected along the journey, that you might fall, but the guardrail will prevent you from falling all the way down to the ground. It's there to catch you so that you can pick yourself back up and keep your commitment to be the best person you can be at the forefront of everything you do this month and always, but especially this month. And just to recap, what are some of the tools we are being taught since last week? Anyone want to share? So we,
I am.
go ahead.
She said.
Oh, you said,
She said.
go ahead.
Yeah, I am open to receiving.
I am open to receive how you communicate with your higher consciousness. Absolutely. Any other tool that you can remember?
Guard your gates.
Guard your gates. Guard all of your gates, your mouth, your ears, your eyes. what you're hearing, what you're seeing, what you're saying at this time. Make sure everything is in alignment with your commitment to be the best person you can be. What is another tool you're being given?
You're never alone.
You're never alone. Hashem walks with you on this journey. What's another tool you're given?
It's okay to isolate yourself a little bit so that you have time to introspect.
It's okay to take me time. Beautiful. The most powerful one we learned today is that when you go to war against your enemy, it will be delivered in your hand. You don't have to pick up a bazooka. You don't have to do hand-to-hand combat. You just have to be committed to going to war. And everything you need in order to win the battle will be delivered into your hands with what? Mercy. Because that's what this month is all about. So I look forward to next week, and we'll keep adding to that repertoire of tools.
You have an envelope?
Yes.
Are you, posting this on YouTube?
Yes, okay, great. I like watching.